What's going on, my Urban Survivor family? Welcome back to another episode of Urban Survivors. I'm gonna go ahead and check this out. I'm in my studio right now. I want to check the sounds. I want to check, I got my fan on because it's hot. Got the lights on. It's about 5 in the morning right now in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So I want to go ahead and do this review on this video that I never saw before, and it's a very touching topic to me because this is where I kind of ended my relationship with the Cambodian gangs of Long Beach. Okay, so like I said, I want to go ahead and tell you guys up front, I don't support any particular gang. I'm gonna tell you how it is. It's just how I grew up with. Like I said, I don't push any particular gang. I'm actually anti-gang because it's pretty much all bullshit. 50 years old, and you pick up to the game like all this phony baloney, ego building, and trying to see who's better is all bullcrap. So, like I said, that's just my opinion to you guys. If you guys are deep in the game, you love it, and you think it's all gravy, cool for you. But for me, I don't promote the gang violence, and I'm just going to go over talk of the history because I was there, and like I said before, I never really watched these gang videos. This one is about swamp stories, and like I said, all these channels, they kind of glorify the gangbang and all that stuff. So, like I said, I don't really watch it on YouTube, but I want to go ahead and give you guys my 2 cents on this particular video. So this is Swamp Stories, Tiny Rascals versus Asian Boys in Long Beach City, my neighborhood. All right, here we go.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this episode, we head back to LA. The past few episodes were just topics that I felt like making for my own enjoyment, but now we're back to the bangers. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. You can also follow the Instagram page as well. So let's get into it. Long Beach, California. The last time I covered it, everyone was on my head about a few comments. First, I said that every house in Long Beach has a pool in the backyard. No, every house in Long Beach does not actually have a pool in the backyard. But the point was that Long Beach is a nice city that was built as a relaxing suburb. I mean, it's literally called Long Beach. And secondly, I said that Long Beach is not that dangerous. And this made everyone go completely insane.
Okay, let me go ahead and get you guys the facts straight so you guys kind of know what Long Beach is about, okay? Long Beach is part of LA County. I don't know why people just assume like Long Beach it's its own city. It is its own city, but it's in LA County. It's probably like the 4th largest city in California. So we got LA City, which is probably the biggest one, and then either like San Francisco or San Diego is like 3rd, and Long Beach is pretty much like the 4th in all of California. So it's a really big, diverse city, and it has 4 sides: east side, west side, north side. Let me see. Let's see. So east, west, north, south. South is like central area. So basically, it's split up into like different sections. Okay. And like I said, it's very diverse. We got Samoans, we got blacks, we got Mexicans, we got Cambodians. Very diverse city. I love my city. At the same time too, it's a love and hate relationship. Well, here we go. We're gonna go further on. Let's go ahead and skip to the real deal.
Anyways, in the last video, we discussed the Rolling 20s and the Longos as the most important and feared in Long Beach. But after doing some research and reading comments, I ran across a much more interesting dynamic. A topic that's brushed under the rug but does more numbers than Will Chamberlain and Too Short combined. But before we get into it, let me run the intro.
Let's flip this.
Because that's where the biggest population moved to. In 1975, the east side of Long Beach had a major influx of Cambodian families. They came over with very little money and usually lived 2 to 3 families in one home. And some even say that 20 plus people were living inside a single house. So after a few years of working, they primarily opened donut shops, cafes, beauty salons, and traditional restaurants. And with these established businesses, the families wanted to provide structure for their kids to become doctors, lawyers, and engineers. And many kids did actually graduate college and succeed in life. However, many of them fell victim to the environment of the east side of Long Beach. The east side of Long Beach is split into different sections. You have the Rolling 20s, Longo 13, Sons of Samoa, and finally the Baby Insanes. And all of these groups are territorial and willing to show their dominance by any means. So once these families arrived, they had to maneuver the neighborhood and going to school through all of these affiliations.
Yeah, so just to recap, I mean, pretty much all of LA County, the gangs are territorial. They claim streets, they claim apartment building, claim whatever like this. So yeah, you know, it is pretty much true. Like when you grow up, it's hard to get out of this gang lifestyle. So I went to Wilson High School, got jumped twice, and then I went to Poly High School, which is like in the heart of the inner city. And like just across the street from Long Beach High School, and you got a whole bunch of Barrio Pobres, which is like a Mexican gang, old back in the days. You got SOS, a lot of Samoans right in the neighborhoods. Then probably to the east side of Poly, you got the East Side Longos, which is very, very deep. They're probably the biggest gang in the whole Long Beach, okay? So, like I said, it's just part of the nature of the gangs in LA, and it's hard for any young male or even females to avoid gang membership in these cities.
And these groups were known to be awful to them, trying to punk them at every chance. And in response to this, there's always 2 routes. You either compromised your pride and focused on education, which is extremely difficult for a young man to do. Because in order to do this, you pretty much had to say, fine, you can say whatever you want to me, but in 10 years, I'll be a doctor making $300K a year. And in retrospect, that was probably the best. You guys grew up in way worse environments than Stockton, San Bernardino, and Compton combined. These guys were absolutely fearless. So instantly, TRG and Longo 13 were bitter rivals, and the 1980s were reckless between the two. However, it only involved hands and maybe a Swiss army every once in a while. But everything changed on Halloween 1989. A group of Eastside Longos are parked on Cherry Avenue in Long Beach, hanging out outside their car. That's when a car full of TRG pull right beside them with their gray rags out of the window. A 16-year-old Longo named Oswaldo advances towards the car. Bang!
Okay, so the infamous street is supposedly Cherry and Anaheim Street in the heart of Cambodia town. So I don't know where you got like they're hanging out, whatever like that. So supposedly a group full of Longos were at the intersection, and you know TRG came, and I don't know if Swamp Story was right about TRG claiming gray rag at that time or not. I'm not 100% sure. So, but you know it did occur. The shooting did occur, and like I said, that was probably the first incident between a homicide between the Cambodian gangs versus the Mexican gangs in Long Beach. So let's go further on.
This moment changed Long Beach forever because it elevated a rivalry to new heights. Before this, it was really all showmanship and bare knuckles. But now, anything could happen at any time. During the next 2 years, over 10 people lost their life just between TRG and the Eastside Longos. And according to the internet, TRG were the ones causing the damage. But actually, it was not that simple. That's because the Longos were also dealing with their own internal rivalry at the same time. The Eastside and Westside Longos had a rivalry dating back a few decades, and TRG was making it impossible for them to handle both at the same time. So,
all right, that was pretty much correct because you know, going back in the days in the 80s when I was hanging around with all the Cambodian gang members, before this Cambodian versus Mexican gang war started, the Mexican was handling business with their own kind. Like the West Side Longos were beefing it with the East Side Longos, and they were beefing it with the Weemas and they had other Mexican gangs inside of Long Beach, like Barrio Pobre and maybe Barrio Small Town, that was beefing with the much bigger Longbow 13. And so, that's pretty much, like I said, I don't want to speak on anything, but members from the top gave orders for the Mexican gangs in Southern California not to be going at it with each other. And so that's when West Side and East Side and even Barrio Pobre had to choose sides. And so they had no choice. So let's go ahead and go further on and listen to what Swamp Story has to say.
In 1992, La M ordered the East and West rivalry to end and for them to come together against TRG. So in response, TRG needed reinforcement as well, which came from two groups. First, let me introduce you to the Asian Boys, also known as ABZ. I previously covered them in a Stockton video, but that was like the G League version. ABZ in Long Beach is huge and controls a large portion of the east side. Well, after ABZ joined their side, so did another unexpected group of guys. That would be the Insane Crips, also known as IGC. And because of this, the 1990s were absolute chaos between the Longos and the rest of Long Beach. The Longos outnumbered everyone severely, but they were also at a huge disadvantage. ABZ and TRG were still connected to the motherland. They were able to receive shipments of all kinds of things. I'm talking about items that you would only see in GTA 5, but importing all of this was very expensive, so they had to come up with thousands of dollars quick.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. Like I said, these Cambodian refugees came from a war-torn civil war in Cambodia, and so they were used to AK-47s and bazookas. I had somebody that had like a freaking like the bazookas, I don't know how they got it there. Like I said, I don't think they were doing luggage scan at that time when they were being refugees coming from Cambodia to, whatever. But I don't know how they got it, but the Cambodians got it. And so, like I said before, the Mexican gangs were just, fists and knives and bats and stuff like that. But the Cambodians brought out the guns because, like I said, they were smaller in numbers and smaller in size. And pretty much, like I said, I'm telling you this side story that the Cambodians were getting bullied. And so the other side is going to give a different story. But there's always pretty much like three sides to the equation. So, like I said, I'm coming from the Cambodian side. The other side is going to say something a little bit different. But we both know that there was a war going on and the Cambodians brought out the guns.
So starting in 1994, TRG became notorious for running in houses from Bakersfield all the way to San Bernardino. Wait, am I reading that correctly? What can you possibly take in San Bernardino? I heard they don't even have running water out there. Anyways, that strategy allowed them to have plenty of cash to purchase anything they wanted to use against the Longos. Well, after years of back and forth with the Longos, TRG began having its own internal issues with ABZ. There were always tensions between the two, but it officially fell apart around.
Disappear from social media and do this instead.
Sorry about that, guy.
Friends mastering
YouTube got to make money.
The year 2000, and that led ABZ to having their own separate identity, which came in the form of Blue Rags. ABZ was always really close with the Insane, so it was only right that they joined the Crip family. Well, this decision to separate from TRG and join the Crips caused a lot of fear within the community. It ultimately led to a lot of...
Okay, I don't kind of agree with that statement right there, because there were always like two different gangs that, maybe they worked together for a common enemy, but it wasn't like, Asian Boy was always listening to TRG or whatever like that. I mean, it was just two separate sides, common enemy that was bigger. And in terms of like all the Cambodian gangs that grew up in Long Beach, everybody was sporting the blue rag, even though they weren't claiming Crips. They just learned from the Rolling 20s and the Insane that they wore blue rags. So every gang that started in Long Beach was wearing blue rags, but they didn't have that Crip identity, but later on, that's when they started changing colors. The gray rag, the blue rag. I don't know what the other rags are, maybe the red rag and stuff like that. But I don't think he said what it. I don't think Swamp Story got the story right with Asian Boy finally picking up with the Insanes. We already been representing. We were already sporting the blue rag ever since they got started.
Families moving out of Long Beach. Most either went to Santa Ana, which is a quiet city in Orange County, or they went to Fresno, which is located a few hours north of LA. And finally, some switched coasts and moved all the way to Lowell, Massachusetts, where they stayed with long-lost family members. And in all of these cities, ABZ and TRG began forming their new identities as well. But for now, let's focus on the ABZ in Long Beach. They now cover 13 by 22 blocks in the east side of Long Beach and are possibly the most feared in the city. And the rivalry with TRG got really serious in 2001. And shout out to Sergio Kwan. If you haven't seen his channel, he goes in depth in these stories as well. It's 2001 and TRG and ABC are not seeing eye to eye to the point where ABZ wants to send a message. And they have a perfect person in mind. That would be Ruel Hulbert, who's also known as Low Key. He is one of the few non-Cambodian TRGs, and because of that, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Well, on a random day around February 2001, Low-Key is at the Jackrabbit liquor store in Long Beach. That's when a group of ABZ pull up. Thankfully, Low-Key is okay, but this moment would change his life forever. You'll see what I mean.
Okay, so this is probably the time that I have already kind of distanced myself from the Cambodian gangs. I think it was what was it, 2001? I already distanced myself away from the Cambodian gangs like since 1995, 96. So I don't know any of the new guys or the new people, but there was already like a few non-Cambodians in both gangs at that time. Like I said, but this is the story that they're telling. Like I said, my time was pretty much over already when this war. They had beef and they had all the other problems that started. They had shootouts and stuff like that. When I took you to the Lewis block to show you the neighborhood that had the shootouts with Cambodians, and then there was another shootout on Long Beach Boulevard. I don't even have to tell about, but it was going back and forth. This is house to house shooting. Like people were just shooting up the house, where the enemies are at.
But TRG's initial response to the incident did not please him. They wanted to have a truce with ABZ before things get worse. And once Low-Key found out, he was not pleased at all. He wanted nothing to do with peace at all and went out and handled it himself. And it all occurred over a 2-week span. December 19th, 2003. Low-Key drives out to ABZ territory where he runs into a man named Daniel Chanta. Daniel himself is not ABZ, however he does associate with them. Well, Daniel has no clue who Low-Key is, so they agree to hang out later in the afternoon. So 5 hours pass and Low-Key comes back to meet up with Daniel. Low-Key walks up to him and says, "Hey, do you remember me?" Bang! 11 days later, New Year's Eve 2003. Most people are having fun on New Year's Eve. Maybe have.
So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video real quick because, like I said, the date, it just blows my mind because 2001 is just too far away from my history. That like I said, I was already out of the picture and not even worried about like what's going on in Cambodia town. So I don't know whatever the situation was, but I could tell you this: those two gangs were beefing way before 2001. 1992, I was telling you guys about the shootouts of the house. Those were those two gangs that were going at each other already. And so, like I said, 1992, they're already shooting and fighting, and we had rumbles at the Cambodian New Year's parade and all that stuff. So this wasn't something new that happened in like 2001. This is already happening since like 1991. 1991, 92, they're already beefing, shooting at each other and all that stuff. So like I said, that's why I wanted to go ahead and kind of shut this video down real quick, because the date is just definitely not right. And there's a lot of things on there that just didn't make sense, to me, So like I said, I mean, they're just going off what other people said and this and that. And so when you get it from my voice, it's like, hey, I was there. I know who did what, where, when, and how. And like I said, it just blew my mind that, okay, cool. Their beef didn't just start in 2001. It started way back since like 1991, 92. I think we had a house party. My sister had a house party at her house, and all the Cambodian gangs came, and they had to call the police to shut it down because they were beefing at our house that time. And I mean, that was just like beef of just like, regular beef, talking shit, maybe fighting or whatever like that, but it wasn't shooting yet. But, all that thing just kept on, adding more more fuel to the fire. So like I said, I had to go ahead and cut this video short because like I said, a lot of things just didn't make sense. And I didn't know about like the business after 1995, 96. I was, out of the picture. So yeah, like I said, guys, 1991, 92, they're already shooting at each other, guys. And that's all I got to say. So I can't really comment more on this video because there's a lot of things that just didn't add up. So anyways, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and do some more videos, reviews, and stay up. Peace out.